Now, I think originally you had asked me to talk about branding and how you guys were designing some of your flyers. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I'm going to start off first with a test. So I'd like for you guys first to do this. Starting from the top left, can anybody identify that symbol?
Under Armour.
Okay, next, bottom left. What is the name of that symbol?
Nike.
Okay, what's the middle top?
BMW.
Okay, these are getting ready to get harder for you, so you keep going. You're doing good. Okay, what's the bottom middle?
Adidas.
Oh, this is too easy. I should have made it hard. Okay, what's the top? What's the top right hand?
I'm not sure.
Ooh, I got one. Anybody else want to add in what that is? Okay, let's go to the bottom. Let's go to the bottom right. What is that one?
Google Chrome.
Google Chrome.
Okay, great. So these are the answers. That is correct. One of the reasons that I brought them up is that most people can identify all of these brands without seeing their names because of the way that they have branded themselves and the way that they put themselves together. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, how we brand ourselves with the NAACP DeKalb County branch. And I call it how you dance in a box. My grandmother used to talk about always having all these rules that restricted me from doing some of the things I wanted to do. And she says you can use that restriction to do anything you want to as long as you stay in the box. And so I learned a lot of things around that. And that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about. And it started from a design that you did for a meeting. And I talked to Nakia about it. I said, let's talk about this idea of branding. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's talk about the idea of branding. Basically, you try to create a brand so that every time someone sees your symbols, your colors, your attitude in your advertising, they almost automatically know who's doing it without seeing the name printed, just as you know, Nike, Adidas, and all that. And by the way, Rolex was that one that kind of stumped the band. That's for an older crowd, more than likely. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Rolex, but I thought I'd throw it in because it is an advertisement well known around the world.
Have any of you heard of that?
Yeah, I know that they're watches, like really expensive watches.
Very expensive watches, exactly. So that's why I threw it in there, though. But people recognize those symbols and they react to them. In fact, sometimes you'll get people, I don't know if you guys do it at your school, but people will look at your shoes, see what kind of shoes you have on. They look at your labels on the back. All of that tells them they think something about yourself. So looking at it from a different way, you can shape a person's mind by the way you present yourself. And the key point to remember here is they may not always remember what you say or even what you do, but they will remember how you made them feel before you walked away. So you can make them feel good, you can make them feel bad, you can make them angry at you and all that. So we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of branding within the NAACP DeKalb branch based upon all of that. Shaping so that when you guys become creative and you start designing your flyers or whatever it is that you want to do, videos, whatever it is, you do it with the NAACP DeKalb branch in mind, because that's the ultimate goal. Here's another pop quiz for you. Which one of these logos are the approved logo, the legal logo that we use? Anybody want to guess? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which one? Somebody take a guess. Anybody?
Is it the bottom right?
Bottom right. Okay, that's one. Okay, anybody else? What do you think, Chris? Was it Chris?
Yeah,
Christian.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Of course not. But all we're doing is you're not gonna lose $1 million. You might win $1 million. So go ahead and guess. Okay.
NAACP around 1909.
Now, which one is that? Is that the top left?
Oh,
The
that's the bottom right.
bottom right. So both of you guys chose the bottom right. And this was a trick question because none of these are legal. Okay. In terms of the way that we want to brand our activities for the branch. You didn't realize it, but I actually have given you the answer at the top of the page on the top right, where you see the logo, emblem, the NAACP, and then the branch name up under, and then Teresa Hardy, president. Anytime we produce any activity, any videos, any flyers, any kind of media that will go out representing our branch, that particular logo is the approved logo. All of these logos have been created across the United States, and for one reason or another, they become illegal. And that's the part I want you guys to think about when you get ready to put it together. The legal logo is the one in the top right, where you have the emblem and the NAACP with the DeKalb up under it and Teresa Hardy. Well, you could say, well, I'm looking at the one who is middle bottom and it looks the same. Well, not quite, because it's not using the same fonts, it's not using the correct font. Plus the branch name is much larger, or at least almost as large as the NAACP. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So what is wrong with most of these? And I'll take you through your answer, for instance, Kalia, the right bottom. What's wrong with that? It has been squished so that it's pulled out almost like a football. So somebody has manipulated that particular logo and makes it illegal. The one above it, somebody squished it the other way, and now they make it look like a mirror. I think it looks like one of those mirrors in my grandmother's house. And then they've got the website above the name NAACP. And remember, how do we do it? We put NAACP first, we put the branch second, and in our branch, we also put the president's name up under there. Okay.
Okay.
It differs from branch to branch, but for sure, you always put the national first, you put the branch second, in a different font, by the way. If you look at it, it's italics and it's smaller. And in our case, we put the president's name in the third row. So that's why these two are illegal. The one on the right hand, the far left, that sits by itself, it is a legal emblem, but National has said for our branding purpose, never show the emblem without showing the NAACP next to it as well. Okay. So those are some of the rules that come with designing, and that's what I have to look at when I'm putting together designs. So you have a bunch of no-nos. And by the way, I sent you guys the same branding guide that I have to use when we design flyers, banners, activities in our branch as well, which tells you what is good, what's not good. First thing right off the bat, it says do not distort the signature. And that's when you squish it, either make it look like a football or make it look like one of those oval mirrors to me. You don't change the color of the brand. You notice if you look close, our brand is usually going to be blue and gold. And I'll get to the exact colors in a minute. And it tells you all of the things that you don't do. And that's the importance of having a style sheet so that we are consistent across the board, so that whenever people see our logo, even when I see it in very small letters where I can hardly make it out, I know the way it looks, and therefore I can say that's NAACP DeKalb. So that's the point that you want to get to in looking. We have a specific color palette that we use as well. Blue and gold happens to be the major color, but let me even take it a step further. It's not just blue. You can't just pick any blue technically. The numbers that you see up under the logo tells you the exact color. There must be at least 300 different blues. You're thinking, how in the world can you do that? Well, it's just like mixing paint. You can take a red bucket of paint, a green bucket of paint, and a blue bucket of paint and begin to move that combination around. And as you move it, you'll get all these different colors. Can you see down in the left corner where it says RGB? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, you'll notice R0, G is 47, B is 108. What that says is the red, they don't have any red in that blue color, but they do have 47%, whatever it is, if green. And when you mix that 47 with 108 of blue, you get this particular blue. Likewise, on the gold, if you look down in that same section, the RGB, you'll see 245 of red, 203 of green. And I'm thinking to myself, how you gonna get yellow out of that? Well, then they add in 8 of blue and voila, you got this yellow that is the legitimate color that we use on a regular basis whenever we do our branding, okay? The other colors are complementary colors, and what they say is they allow you to use these secondary colors and these tertiary colors to spice up, so that this is where it comes back to what I was talking about dancing in a box. After I put handcuffs on you and say you can only use a brand in a certain way, then you can do anything else you want to. You can be as creative as you need to be, as long as you use these colors to help meet that goal. And it helps out when you're doing your branding.
So how do we get that access to that specific symbol so that we can make sure that that's what we add into the flyers?
Okay, there are a couple of ways to do that. If you have any photographic editing software, it has a place on there that will ask you for the color.
Okay.
And you can either put it in as an RGB color, or you can put it in, you see this pound symbol down here, it's pound 002F6C. If you put that color in too, that's the same code that fits this blue. If you're using, let's say you're opening up a photo package. And by the way, let me recommend a free photo editing package if you guys don't have one. It's called Photopea.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, PHOTOPEA.
Okay.
That package is a free photo editing package, and it is very similar to the well-known package called Photoshop. It does a lot of the same things that Photoshop does. And I recommend that package to a lot of people just starting out into video editing. And it's a good way to practice and learn and get to some of these colors. And you can play around with it and get to the colors that you need to make this happen. By the way, I sent this same branding guide to Nakia so she can get that information to you guys so that you have a chance to read over it. These are just some of the rules that you follow. After that, it's up to your creativity. Here's a sample message. On the left-hand side, this is the one that you sent out first. I looked at that and I said a couple of things. I said, well, so real quick, now that I've talked a little bit about what the components are, can you guys kind of pick out real quick on the left-hand side some of the things that I might say are non-compliant?
How I worded the NAACP Youth Council, instead of saying that, I said, instead of saying the correct terminology, I used the incorrect terminology. And the symbol, I didn't use the correct one.
Okay. So you didn't you went join the NAACP Youth Council, but it's always what? NAACP, then the branch, then the organization up under the branch. So it's like a tier system. NAACP is always going to lead, the branch will lead second, and then followed by whatever the different committees are. In your case, Youth Council. What else do you see on this one on the left that you would change now that you know some of the rules of jumping in the box?
I would have said NAACP DeKalb Youth Council instead of switching the words up. Okay.
What about up in the left-hand corner? This NAACP DeKalb County. What is different? What is wrong with this?
Oh, I didn't put that.
No. We're not. This was not finger pointing time. This is me looking at this particular flyer and analyzing how to make it compliant within an organization like we have. And I think that's what you should focus on. It's not so much right and wrong as much as how do we stay in the box and still have fun? Okay, keep that in mind. So let me give you the answer to this one. Notice here on the right-hand side, I have the emblem, but then I have NAACP DeKalb County Branch. Here you have the emblem, but you have NAACP DeKalb all in lower cases, which is non-compliant. And then you have DeKalb County, which is almost larger. It looks larger to me than the NAACP there. So the logo right there would be, you would need to transfer this particular logo to that if you're going to use it, okay? Some other points to consider. I didn't know what this was right here, but as I look closer, it looked like it was a logo at one point in time. So that's why I replaced it with the NAACP logo there. I kept all of your content, but one more thing that I did. Do you see how I changed the color to be more compliant with our gold than what the color you had at first?
Okay.
Okay. So that's just a quick snapshot of how you had good information. It just didn't fit in the box that NAACP has set if we are going to make a statement every time that we advertise what it is that we're doing. Okay. So I got the meetings and details and all of that kind of stuff there down at the box, down at the bottom. And I even left them at the same color because for the most part, people are going to see the majority of the blue and gold at the top. Okay. So here's some other examples of how we use that. Like I said, be as creative as you want to, but there are certain portions of it that you need to always follow in terms of the style sheet that we have.
Is the third poster eligible since the color is all yellow instead of the original?
Now, one of the things that I did not go through, and I'm going to let you read through the style sheet, is that there are 2 or 3 different acceptable versions of the logo. Okay. This logo here on the left-hand side is the preferred logo. But if I had put that blue logo against a blue background, what would have happened?
Oh, it would have blended right in.
Exactly. It would have blended right in. So rather than that, I found a way to contrast it by finding a legal logo. And we have a legal gold logo also. They make that the secondary, if you will. And the only time I use the gold is if there's not enough contrast between the blue logo and the background that I'm working on. And we use the complementary color, the green, and we use another blue out of that same complementary color as well. And I even use about 3 or 4 different colors up here on the running man. The point was to show you three different flyers, 3 different messages, but they all are compliant based upon some of the style sheet. And after that, you get to be as creative as you want. Okay. The style sheet is not there to keep you from being creative. The style sheet is there to keep you in the box so that when people see what you're doing, then it's reinforced by the fact that other committees within our organization are using the same kinds of logos. They go, oh, that's the NAACP DeKalb. You know them. They're always doing something. You know, that's the part about how you build credibility. Another thing to think about, I'm going to show you 3 pictures. I had 3 pictures I wanted to put on the front cover. This was the first one. And what I want you to do is look at these 3 pictures and give me an idea of why I used the one that I did. This was the first picture on there. This was the second picture I thought about using. And then this was the third picture I finally decided that I wanted to use on the cover of this presentation. Can you guys share with me what you think was the deciding factor in me using this picture versus this one or this one?
I think that the third one kind of emphasized the NAACP meaning, especially with the people holding the sign below it. It kind of emphasized what the meeting was about.
Okay, that could be one thing. Okay, what else?
The symbol is very bright and it's noticeable
Okay.
within the presentation.
Okay. Now that's same symbol there, same symbol there. So all those are the same, right? There's one more component here I want you to think about, and that is this.
The text at the bottom.
Same text. All I did was change the lettering. So I'll go ahead and give you the answer. Here we had a bunch of old people, and I'm getting ready to present to young people. Then I thought about this picture as young people, but then they look still older as well. But when I got here, what did I see? What caught my eye was the young lady on the right-hand side with the hoodie, the little furry hoodie on her head. She looked like a youth. And since I'm presenting to youth, I said, let me get a picture that will best exemplify the people I'm going to talk to. And that's the same way I'm suggesting to you as you look at all of the things that you're going to be doing and sending out, trying to attract people to the youth committee. Remember that you are working from a style sheet, and that style sheet is your friend. It's not that it hurt you. It's there to reinforce what you do and even give you more power sometimes. Always look at your symbols to see if they fit in with what we're doing, and make sure that this message is to the people that you want to have that message. If you're trying to attract teenagers, then make sure the message will attract teenagers. Okay. And at the same time, that it would make the organization that you're with look good. That's the key that you want. Okay. In other words, some people would say to me, well, why don't you just put a few curse words in there? Because that's all teenagers do anyway. I don't believe that, but you know, some people have said that to me. Well, some might, but then some might.
That's what's going to.
Well, of course not. But it's to make a point here. Okay. Why wouldn't I do that? And why wouldn't I do it is very simple. I say to myself, could this offend someone? Before I ever design any flyer, I said, will this offend someone? And if it does, then I try to find an alternate solution to say the same thing without offending people. Likewise with pictures. I thought that might be offensive. I imagined a room full of teenagers saying, why is he showing us all these old folks? And automatically being turned off. But I felt like this picture would not be as offensive because the largest subject on this picture is on the right-hand side, and that person is a teenager as well. And therefore, it would say to me, oh, they might be getting ready to tell me something that might be of interest to me. So that's the same way I'm suggesting that when you get ready to design your flyer, you say the same thing. Is this going to benefit or take away? Is this going to hurt or is it going to help? And if there's any question, here's my general rule of thumb. If somebody asks me, has anybody seen that commercial where, what is that? That's a Kit Kat bar or somebody, and somebody walks by and said, do I look fat in this dress? And the guy stuffed a little candy in his mouth. If I have to wait that long to answer the question, then 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to use it. Okay. That's a hint to me that it may offend someone. So that's a general rule of thumb for me. If I have to hesitate and think, is this good or bad? Then I'm going to go and err on the safe side by finding an alternative as opposed to using something that I think may offend someone at the wrong time. You know, the other rule of thumb you got to remember occasionally is I would rather for you to offend somebody knowing you're going to do it than not know that you're going to do it. Okay. I just did a poster for the Remembrance Project, and the first time I showed it, I had a noose on it, and people were uncomfortable with the noose because they felt like it brought up too many bad memories. But the whole point of what the Remembrance Project was about was to remember something that bad so that it never happens again. So I put that on there knowing that somebody is going to be uncomfortable with it, but hopefully somebody will be uncomfortable enough never to want to do it again, or they would stop their friends from doing it. So that's logic behind putting together your flyer, working out of a box or a style sheet to help you stay on track, to reinforce and make your flyers even stronger than you thought they could be, and also taking in mind who you're talking to so that you can get your message across to them in a way that they can understand without it being offensive to others. The last thing I'm going to say is if you got any questions, you can always email me at communications@naacpdekalb.org, and I'll be glad to talk you through or help you through or make recommendations, or we can just sometimes say, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And we can even have a brain session where we come up with a whole new design, because I got a feeling that if I were to put 10 of us in a room, we could take one idea and come up with 10 different flyers if we wanted to. You know, that's the power of group. That's the power of creativity. And that's the power of when you open up and begin to talk and share ideas and throw things out and say, hey, let's try this. Well, I don't know. What about this? I don't know. Let's try this. And when you get through, you have the kind of branding that you want.
Albert, let me just add one thing. It's one of the key things, you know, I know you're talking about branding from a perspective of communications, but branding is also an important topic as far as leadership and organizing a group, as far as getting people to follow you and getting people to get behind your cause, correct?
The moment you wake up and go outside your door, people are going to begin to judge you by a whole host of things. And so branding's simple definition would be you decide how you want them to see you. And so as you go into different groups, as Lance is talking about, you work based upon what the objectives of the group, how you want to get there, and then how you want to see your people as getting there. And that's part of what branding is all about. So branding is in everything. It goes by a whole host of names. But the idea of you branding yourself simply says that I am going to be known as this kind of person. I am going to work in this organization here, and we're going to be known as these type of groups. And that's the way. And you always keep that forward so that as you're working, you stay on task.
And as a youth council, to Albert's point, is what kind of youth council do we want to be seen as in the community? I mean, we have our mission, we have our vision as a youth council, but I think the flavor to it is that brand that you guys decide on how you want to be seen. I mean, I guess the example would be, is this the hip hop brand of the youth council, or is this the young academician brand of the youth council? And I guess it just depends on how you guys want to be viewed, if that makes sense to you. And what I was kind of getting at, Albert, is, you know, maybe, and the key, maybe that's a topic down the road, is that, you know, we do branding from a graphic perspective, but, you know, how do you guys want to brand the youth council?
This is
I think that's a great idea.
this is something to think about. If I ask you, you can only have 4 words to define what this organization is. 4 words to define who you are. What 4 words do you use to define the organization? You can only use 4 words. That's something for you to think about. I'll tell you what my 4 words that I operate from. My 4 words are, I make it happen. That's what I tell myself every day. I make it happen. And from there, I work out, and everything revolves around those 4 words, because that's the branding that I want to have.
Right.
You need it done? Call Albert. Why? I make it happen. You see, so that's the same way. If you're going to, with the youth, Lance, I would recommend you guys sit down and have a powwow. What 4 words do you want to use to define this organization?
Right. Okay. So we can organize that. So I just want to kind of throw that in there because this has to do with leadership and brand. Because you look at your elected officials and people out there, they spend a lot of time and money developing their brand, and that brand draws people to them because folks identify with that brand. So
Right.
um,
And
we
here,
can give.
yeah, and I was going to say, Lance, here are famous words of those who are about to wreck their brand. I'm going to say this off the record.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
there is no off the record.
There's
Yes.
never an off the record. Everything that you do from the time that you wake to the time you go to bed, you are constantly setting a tone for who you are and who you want to be. Nike does it. Coca-Cola does it. Adidas does it. Rolex does it. All of these companies do it as a way of reinforcing the value where even when you find out they've done something wrong, it doesn't hurt as bad because they have created this brand that's so strong
Right.
that people are willing to overlook for some reason. And that's another commentary, but willing to overlook even the things that would seem horrific to anybody else.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about that.
I did
Because
not
Lance just said
mention
to
that.
put the, you said that was one of the things that were incorrect when you compared the two. One of them didn't have the link, and the one that we originally did had the link.
When you put the link for Zoom on your flyer, you turn the flyer into a JPEG. You cannot click on that JPEG, therefore it does not become valuable. And then people try to type it in, and that creates problems because if they just miss one character, it messes up the whole thing. So I was saying, if you're going to use your Zoom link with whatever it is, make sure it's a clickable link above the PNG or after the PNG, whichever one.
So the other option would be to have a.
Well, I mean, that's up to you guys. I don't know how you want to do that. I typically, most of the ads that I do, I lead them out to the website, and I have a link on the website for them to click to go somewhere else. Some other people have complained that young people don't like to click that many times. It shortens their life or something. I'm not sure what it is, but whatever it is, if you put the link on there, make sure it is clickable rather than have it on inside embedded into your flyer because it has no value inside the flyer. And Lance, let me show you. I wanted to be clear about showing you exactly what I meant by designing the flyer and then having at the top in the text area where you would put the link that you would want people to click on. Do you see that on this particular? Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, Kalia. You put the text in this area, but the flyer has the basic information that, for instance, this one says, if you want some information, contact AXO at the NAACP DeKalb.org. That's easier to type than if you see that long
Right.
Zoom link that goes along with it. I mean, that's forever and a day. So rather than go through all that, I put the text up here that I want people to click on, but then the flyer has all of the information needed that people can see.